People, bonds, connections. Those are what make society. And not having those bonds, not having those connections, and not having those people that care about you will make your life much, much harder because you won't get the recognition and the support of others. I got called attractive for having a nice voice. Yeah, exactly. Did you hear that correctly? I didn't even expect that that was something that was going to happen, but it did. And although it was flattering, it's those moments like that where you think about, oh my God, people are recognizing me as a person. By the way, the person that said that was a guy. I just want to clear that up. And it was something that I never thought about myself. I never thought of myself to have an attractive voice. Well, when someone brought that up and highlighted that to me in a small moment, it brightened my day. And not only did it brighten my day, but it also revealed a card that was within my hand. You might be wondering, what hand is he talking about? I'm talking about the hand that exists in every single person and that every single person is dealt with. Every person is dealt with a positive and a negative cards that exist in your life. No one has to deal with full positives and full negatives. Even if you think of yourself as a completely negative person, there might be some other positives that exist in your life. You may be very pretty, you may be very attractive, you may be very smart, you may be very athletic. But with those traits for positives comes the traits of the negatives. And that's how every person is. There's so many different things that take into account when we define who we are as a person. But instead of letting those negatives affect us, why not take those positives and boost yourself up? Sounds easy, right? Well, let me just say that it definitely is not, as I've spent over 3 years struggling to understand myself, learn what I'm good at and what I'm bad at, and make myself a better person overall. But I can't see everything great about myself by myself. That's where the people, the bonds, and the connections come into play. It's the capability of others. It's the capability of how that one dude told me my voice was attractive, that brought the light that I needed. I don't know if you guys think I have an attractive voice. I don't know. But the fact that he did, and the fact that he told me that I did, is something that I will never forget. So many teens my age and younger, between the ages 13 and 19, commit suicide because they lack those connections and bonds to keep them going. One of the biggest things that they need is getting a connection with someone who not only understands them, but can also put faith in them and push them forward, providing them with the light that they need for their future. So I want you to think about a few people in your life. Who are those meaningful connections to you? Do you have them in your mind? For me, I'm thinking of my family, my closest friends, and then my teachers and counselors. Do you guys agree or disagree? Do we have similar lists? I'm pretty sure many of you guys would find it uncomfortable to openly share about your experiences with anyone other than your friends. After all, several studies have shown how teens are completely afraid of speaking to their parents and even their counselors about anything that they're going through. They might not want their parents to know about what they're going through, or they might not want a single person to know as to what they're going through. Or they might be afraid of their counselors who would not acknowledge their problem as something that they struggle with. These counselors are taught to help us as students, and they have spent countless hours struggling to improve our lives in the facility of the school. But so many students, including myself, are afraid to open up about our experiences. And this is something that has not been talked for such a long time, but it's very, very relevant. Why? because I know several people who are afraid to go up to their counselors and get help because they hear stories, whether it be from their own friends or from the internet, about people who have tried and who've gotten brushed aside. We don't know personally if this is true or not, but it's the stigma that exists between the counselors and the students. What I think that we need to focus on is to break that stigma, that divide between the counselors and students that doesn't really exist, but we've created it over time. By doing this, not only will it benefit the students who are struggling mentally, but it'll also create another connection between teenagers and counselors. It'll create another connection that is necessary for a student's life. Take a study by Madaka University, in which Dr. King, who is a psychologist in the field of mental health, did a study. This study consisted of taking 400 mentally ill students and splitting them in half. Out of those 400 students, 200 of them were taken to continue their studies in their hospital without any connections or anybody that they can trust to talk to, while the other 200 students got to select 4 guardians or people that they trusted. These 4 guardians could have been anyone, including parents, teachers, relatives, and counselors. So, so it was shown that after those test results, which lasted for 3 months, over the course of the next 10 years, 12 out of the 200 students that did not have a 4-person support system committed suicide, whereas 1 out of the 200 students that did have a support system committed suicide. Between those, 11 more people committed suicide. Now, what do you think that means? Having those connections are what builds people's happiness and their life. We need those connections because without them, we can't face these struggles on our own. And the counselors' perspectives, they need to be there for us. So why is it that we don't feel as if they are? Or why is it that there are so many people talking about the difficulties of coming up towards a counselor? The thing is, they are there for us. It's just that both sides have never noticed each other to be there for one another. For us, we need to be more open towards the counselors. But at the same time, we as students are afraid of the counselors, and this won't change in a simple day or a simple week. And I know personally that it's quite a difficult process to have the courage to take up a problem to a counselor. But we shouldn't be afraid of them, because at the end of the day, they are here for us. It is our responsibility to take our emotions towards them, but that will not always happen. We won't easily be able to expose our emotion to someone that we don't know that well. So let's think about pushing for a way that we can get to know them more. Sometimes I think to myself that instead of believing that all counselors are scary, try to see if there are someone you can trust and believe in them. Get to know them. Create a connection with them. Try to talk to them and believe in them. And counselors, the same thing goes for you. I hope you guys can recognize that students out there are afraid to talk to you because of the past stories and stigmas that exist around counselors. For the betterment of our lives as teens and for our school community, let's work together to break that stigma. One thing that I can say for certain is that although there might not be people who you think can believe in you, I promise you that there are. Your parents believe in you, definitely. Even if you don't think so, they do. Your counselors believe in you. Your teachers believe in you. I believe in you. Believe in yourself, because I promise you, you'll be able to get through this with everyone's support. The most important thing to me is your well-being. I don't want you to just be alive. I want you to be alive and happy and proud of how far you've come. Proud of all the negatives and positives. Proud of all the mistakes and achievements. Proud of all the good and the bad. Proud of your deck of cards. Proud of yourself.